Hello everyone, I am Leonidas of the RITA Volunteer Helpers team, here to give you a walkthrough on setting up RITA in your server for the first time. So we'll start with inviting RITA to your server. There are two ways that you can do this. One is if you are already on the RITA management server or the help server. Over on the right hand bar where you see a list of everybody who's in the server, you find RITA. From here, you can simply add her to your server and decide which server you would like her to join. Another method is through the link. I will demonstrate it here. I will include it in the comments of this video. Simply by clicking this link or going to this link and opening the website, signing into your Discord, she can be invited that way. So I will go back and use the first method, which is through the server itself. I will add her to my test server. When you invite her, it's very important that you give her administrative privileges. This is so that she can do all the things that she needs to appropriately. And it needs to be done by the server owner or someone who can give her the administrative privileges. There are ways to do it without it, but it is more complicated. This is just simpler, easier, faster, and tends to work far better. So with this marked, click authorize, go through the CAPTCHA, and she will arrive. So here I've set up a test server to demonstrate how this is done. So it's just me and RITA. I have my main channel, and then I have my different language channels, and I'll demonstrate both of these. So there are essentially two ways to set up translation. One is using just one channel, which I'll do here with main. This is where you have people from different languages all speaking in the same channel. Someone who's French, who's English, Italian, and they all want to speak in the same channel and see the translations together. This is how we would set that up. So first we use the prefix command tr, or translate, and then we would use auto. If we're doing the same channel, we want everything to be in the same channel, we use auto. And then we say to, and then our language. In RITA, there are a lot of different language codes that are supported. You can find these on the RITA server under language codes, and there's an entire list of them. And what you need is the two-letter identifier here at the end. This is what they all look like. So you find the ones that you want. So going back to our server, we will do Spanish first, and then I need 4. So this is telling RITA, I want you to translate. The auto tells RITA, I want you to translate anything. You detect the language of every message, translate it to Spanish or whatever we put in here, DE for Deutsch, or German, FR for French, HU for Hungarian, whatever it is you pick. So we'll do Spanish for now. So all languages to Spanish 4, and this is where we're telling RITA where we want those translations to appear. So I want them to appear in the same channel that I'm in. I should mention that it is important for me to put this in here. I'm putting this line, this command line, in where I want the translation to start from. I want the messages from this channel to be translated. So this is the original message. And I'll explain why that's more important once we go through setting up these other language channels. So because I'm doing it here in main, I want it to appear. I select main, simply hit enter, and I get the confirmation that everything is set up for the same channel. Now I need to do it again. So I've set it up for Spanish. I'll do it for German. Whoops. I will do it for French. Sorry, I'm typing slow. I'm reaching around my microphone. And I will also technically need to do it for English. Because anybody who responds in French, German, or Spanish, or any other language, I want that to be translated to English. So I needed to also set up for English. I have 4 languages here, including the one that I use, or that I natively speak. EN for English. And there we go. So now when I type, here's the problem with using the same channel. And the more languages you have, the more cumbersome this becomes. So for example, if I say, and I type that, what you'll see now is that it translates into each of those languages. And it's going to do that for every message that I type. And you can see how this would cause a problem. There are ways to adjust that so that they aren't that large by turning embed off. That's for another topic, but I just want to demonstrate the downside to this. Yes, everybody will be able to read every message. They can see essentially who it's from. If I change my nickname, it will, can I do it this way? I believe I can. I'll just, Leonidas. And now if I say, now it shows my nickname. Also the colors here are just because that's the color of the roles that I have. So whatever color that person, their name shows up as, black is just default. But these sidebars will have different colors. But you can see the downside to this. So now if I wanted to do it for other languages, this setup is a little more time consuming and a little more cumbersome, but I'll show you how it works. So let's say that instead of using one channel, we wanted to use 4 separate language channels. Everybody who speaks English will read and write in English. Everybody who speaks French will read and write in the French channel, German channel, Spanish, and so on. For each language, they are not required to interact in the other languages. RITA will do all of that automatically. So I will show you how that works. So if I want all my messages from here to be translated into French, German, and Spanish for the other channels, this is how we would do it. So we do our prefix, and this time it's channel. And now I need a from language. So everything in here is going to be English, and I want it to go to, we'll start with French, to French. So I want it translated from English to French, and I want it to land in the French channel. So now it's telling me that that it will be translating English or messages from English to French. Could I use auto here so that it does all languages to French? I could. There are some downsides to that. I won't go into that. Try to keep this somewhat brief. But it would work. However, this is the preferred way to use the channel command. So now I've done that for French. I now need to do it also for German and Spanish to those separate channels. So I will do that. And now Spanish. And there we are. It's now set up. So now what will happen? Well, let's do the other ones first. So now I go to French. I need 3 commands again. Now I need everything from French to go into English, German, and Spanish. So you can see how this is a little bit more time consuming, but I'll show you why it's beneficial. So now if I say, if I do the same command again, but now I want it from French, because everybody in this channel is going to be speaking in French, and I want it now to go to English for the English channel. Makes sense. Now I want to do that for German. And unfortunately, you cannot combine these. It won't. RITA doesn't accept it like that. It's not a feature as of yet. You do have to do these individually. Whoops. Not English. French. Okay, so if you get this error, the lang from, it's saying that my from language here, it did not recognize. That was a typo on my part. Let's see if I can capture before it self-destructs. Oh, and then I, of course, forgot to, let's try that again. Okay, there we go. I'll set it up for this one. I'll do this a little quicker. Whoops. And last. Okay, so now I'm set up. So let me show you how this works now. So if I am an English speaker and I come into the English channel and I say, hello everyone, how are you today? That's it. In the other channel, right, this would have translated and we would have seen the translations. Right? Now what you'll notice right now is it also appeared in English. And the reason it did that is because of a bug that the developers are working on. It has to do with the Google API, and it changed how RITA normally will detect its own language and filter that out so that it doesn't translate the native or the original language again. But that it is a bug. It should be fixed hopefully soon in the next patch. Do not worry. But it's because of the tasks that we have running. But you notice that when I typed that, all of these lit up. They have new messages. So for everybody reading in French, all they saw was the French translation, right? And in German, they saw the German translation, same as Spanish. So what a person would do is if they spoke Spanish, let's see if it'll, okay, you notice the other ones light up. When they respond, me being in English, I see what that person wrote and it translates in English. So I can stay in this English channel and send and receive and everybody will get it. So everybody just stays in their own channel for the language that they speak and we're all able to communicate very effectively. And that is how one would set this up. We recommend using the channel, the channel commands and the different channel languages simply because it keeps it much cleaner. The way you can clean this up is by turning embed off. This is what an embedded message looks like. And to turn that off, you simply give it the command and it will tell you that now it is turned off. So when we and this is server wide. These commands for settings are not channel specific. These are server wide. So when I say you'll notice that the embed is off. Right, it's slightly more compact. You don't see the offset with the colored bar. Instead, it shows my name and has the word bot. That's how you know it's a translation. It'll also be in white. So if I give myself some kind of a role, I won't do it again to keep it brief, but if I were red, every time I typed it showed up as red, this would still be white. Even though me as a user, I have a color-coded name based on my roles. The bot will always be white. But you can see how, again, it's having trouble with the translation, catching, and it did all four. And I'll show you what it looks like over here. So I type it in English, and it appears again, and it shows up there. The problem here is that it will not show where this came from. You don't know what the original language was from. You know the person said it, but in a group where people don't necessarily know each other, and maybe they wanted to see the original message, or there was an image included or something, and they wanted to know, well, I don't know where that came from, they don't want to search for it, there is a way you can turn that on so that the messages will add more information. If you notice, the embedded messages will tell you this was from the Spanish channel. That's where it was translated from. This one came from the English. You can do that for the unembedded messages with this setting. Language detect on. Oh, I think I missed. Let's try that again. Settings. There we go. So now when I type a message and say, bonjour, comment allez-vous? If you go here, it looks a little different, but it'll tell you that it was translated from French, and here's the message it came from. And that will at least help you understand or get an idea of where it came from. If we were to turn embed back on, and then we do these again, when you look in the other channels now, it will tell you that it's from the English channel and the source language was English. So slight differences. The shortest way to keep it, or to keep the messages the most compact, is to have embed off and language detect off. And that's the cleanest way. And what you'll see is as people are typing in their own channels, it keeps things much cleaner. Hopefully this has helped you to get an idea of how to set up RITA. Hopefully it works for you. Let us know if you have any questions. We are always here to help. Thanks for watching.